Welcome to Therapy Shorts 57. My name is Dr. Nicholas Jenner. When people talk about unhealthy relationships, narcissism tends to dominate the conversation. And while that makes perfect sense, narcissistic dynamics are dramatic, destabilizing, and overtly damaging, it leaves something important unexplored. Because not all relational harm comes from domination or control. Some of it comes from adaptation, from care, and from accommodation. Today I want to look at what happens when you enter a relationship with a codependent, or when you are the codependent in the relationship. Just as narcissistic relationships follow a recognizable pattern, so too do codependent ones, but they look very different on the surface. They often begin gently. They feel safe. They feel mature. And they are frequently praised by others and by therapists as good relationships, until something quietly disappears, and it's usually the self. Codependency does not develop because someone is weak, needy, or incapable of independence. It develops because someone learned very early on that connection required adaptation. Many codependents grew up in environments where caregivers were emotionally inconsistent, or needs were secondary to harmony. Conflict felt dangerous, or love was conditional on being helpful, agreeable, or easy. So the child learns something crucial. My needs are a problem, but other people's needs keep me safe. This creates a relational strategy organized around attunement rather than expression. The codependent child becomes emotionally intelligent, perceptive, and responsible, but at the cost of self-presence. They learn to stay connected by scanning moods, anticipating needs, and adjusting themselves before discomfort arises. As adults, this looks like care, but psychologically it's self-erasure as an attachment strategy. The first stage of a codependent relationship often feels unusually easy. The codependent partner listens deeply, adapts quickly, makes room effortlessly, asks little in return. There is no intensity, no intoxication, no dramatic chemistry. Instead, there is calm. For many partners, this feels like emotional safety. Clinically, what's happened here is over-attunement. The codependent partner is not discovering themselves in the relationship, they are fitting themselves into it. Their nervous system is regulated by harmony, not mutuality. This is why this stage is often mistaken for emotional maturity, kindness, or relational skill. But something important is already missing: the codependent's separate self. As the relationship continues, the codependent partner begins to take on more responsibility for its emotional stability. They manage moods, they manage tension, they tolerate imbalance, they postpone their own needs. Not consciously, but automatically. This is a stage where self-abandonment becomes the glue that holds a relationship together. The relationship may look stable from the outside, even successful, but internally the codependent begins to feel tired, unseen, quietly resentful, and emotionally lonely, because the relationship depends on their adaptation. Clinically, this is where the chronic emotional labour replaces mutual regulation, and crucially, the codependent often believes this is love. Eventually, the system breaks down. The codependent may experience burnout, anxiety or depression, numbness, or sudden anger or withdrawal. They may fantasize about leaving while feeling overwhelming guilt. They may assert boundaries suddenly, confusing both themselves and their partner. Unlike narcissistic discard, this stage is not explosive, it's erosive. The relationship doesn't implode, it slowly empties. And often the codependent leaves not because they want to, but because they no longer exist in the relationship. The opposite of codependency is not independence, it's self-presence and individuality. Recovery involves learning to stay connected without disappearing, to tolerate discomfort without rescuing, to allow relationships to be imperfect without over-functioning. Just as narcissism protects a fragile self through control, codependency protects connection through self-abandonment. And healing will start when you become self-aware of the fact that you cannot go on like this anymore, and you need to do something. And that something means looking inward, at your inner world, and not focusing on the external world so much. The next thing is to practice individuality, to find your sense of self. Until you can do that, your codependent patterns will continue. So thank you for listening, and until the next time.